Today, we're going to talk about cyclic ketogenic diet. What's up, everyone? Welcome to my friggin' humble channel. Let's get on into it. Let's talk about the carb cycling. Now, this comes in waves, this concept, not in the bodybuilder world. They've been doing this for a very long time, but in the ketogenic world, it keeps coming back. Cyclic ketogenic diets. That's the subject of today. People have this concept that if I don't know where their brains are at. If you're eating a carb diet or moderate carb diet, that's going to give you the energy. It's going to give you, let me use this quotations, energy. And then you drop out your carbs to confuse your body. Somehow you're going to get into ketosis and burn fat. And then when you start tanking, you go back to the carbs. And you can moderate your blood sugar by adding carbs and taking them away, because when your blood sugar gets too high, you can drop out your carbs and be ketogenic, and you won't gain weight because you're not going to be eating fat for very long. Is this what people say? Not really. But something to this regard, cycling your carbohydrates so your glucose doesn't get too high. You don't start storing too much fat. And then dropping your carbs, but not too long, because if you drop your carbs for too long, then you can start having things like, I don't know, thyroid problems. But what people don't realize is that when you go high carb, low carb, high carb, or no carb, you are not confusing your body to become more metabolically strong. Your body becomes metabolically weaker because it doesn't know what the frack to do. You have to either get into ketosis or you're a carb burner. You don't flip and flop each week. But I want to show you some videos of two conflicting ideas. And let this be known. When I search for video content, I'm not roasting the person. Somebody made this reference to Bart K and his roast of me. That's a whole nother ball of wax, because we used to be friends, Bart K and I. And he had interviewed me several times for his channel. A lot different than, I don't even know who these people are. They're like randoms. And with my sardine challenge video, I didn't know who that woman was. I was just talking about the concept of sardines. This is the same thing with this guy. I'm gonna pull up. I don't know who this bodybuilder guy is. He got a lot of followers. I don't know. It's nothing about him, but he is talking about carb cycling like most people. So let's get it. Let's pull this up. He's talking about carb cycling and preps for competition. And this is where the concept started from, is from the bodybuilder world.
Of carbs you take in during the week. And a standard procedure with this is having low carbohydrate days and then a high carbohydrate day, or a couple high carbohydrate days. Personally, on this contest prep that I'm documenting right now for my competition on July 20th, I have recently implemented with my coach a 5 low day and then 2 high days carbohydrates. So the next order of business is something very serious. We are getting all you can eat sushi. Out of my 260 carbs I can take in per day on this cut, I saved 230 carbs for this. I've been low carb all day. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Just look at my parking job. That's what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah. He must be very hangry right now. He's been low carb all day. Now he's just going to pound down the carbs.
You might be like, what is the benefit of doing this? So this is for people who are looking to lose fat. If you're in a surplus, if you're in a bulk, if you're in a caloric surplus, eating more calories than your body needs to stay the same weight, the carb cycling benefits aren't quite as much there as if you are in a fat loss phase. So if you're looking to lose fat, if you're looking down at your stomach right now, you're like, I need to do some work.
The whole bulk bulking fat loss phase is so bizarre, because literally you're like, you're thinking about what some of these actors will do to gain a bunch of weight and lose a bunch of weight. You become metabolically inflexible. And the bulking phase is just heart disease and diabetes phase of eating. I mean, look at what this dude's eating.
May want to perk your ears a little bit because this is for you. So carb cycling, as I said, it's having low carbohydrate days married with some high carbohydrate days. And the purpose of this is fairly simple. When we are dieting, we are in a caloric deficit. We are burning fat off of our body. And to do that, we need to be taking in less calories than our body ideally wants. And with that comes having less carbohydrates than our body ideally wants. And
all right, let's stop right there. So you can apply this to keto, but we're gonna talk about this. I can't with this story. Okay, so when you're at a caloric deficit, you're gonna burn a bunch of fat because the body's like, hey, I'm not eating. We're gonna do some cardio and we're just gonna burn some fat. But see, when I'm eating diabetes food, I'm gonna gain muscle. Y'all, it's not about the, and I don't know who this person is, so it's not him. Every freaking bodybuilder talks like this, so it's just, you know, who he is, and I don't, whatever. It's just about the concept, not him. The problem is with this is that most bodybuilders believe in calories in, calories out, and people have tried to debate that on my channel, and then people try to get me to debate other people. I'm like, why? Haven't you learned in the last 3 years that people will hold on? Like, you'll keep saying the sky is purple, the sky is purple. They'll just keep trying to tell you the sky is purple. You're like, no, it's blue. No, it's purple. And you can go back and forth, purple, blue, and nothing happens. My ass is 55. I've learned my lesson. With that said, that's why I don't like to debate people on these subjects. But what he's talking about in the bulking phase, they actually think they're building quality of muscle because, you know, you're going to spike, you're going to eat all these processed carbohydrates, spike your insulin. And then when you spike your insulin, you're going to be eating a ton of protein because he's eating what? How much did he say? 300 grams of protein? 200 and something, 250 to 300 grams of protein. And then you think that you're going to get the protein, the amino acids into the muscle cell. And it's bizarre. Like, why are they getting fat? They're calling it the bulking phase. Why are you getting fat? Because you're becoming metabolically deranged. Your blood sugar's shooting up so high. And on those days, people are not talking about how brain foggy they become, how crappy their sleep is, the GI issues, the skin issues. And then I don't know if this guy's doing, was it enhancements? But if you're a competing bodybuilder, unless you're going, I'm natural, I mean, they take PEDs. They take enhancements. And so it is very, very confusing to look at someone like him. And this guy's 27. Okay, 56 in a few weeks. This dude is 27. So it's very subjective to use a young guy. And then, but this is the bodybuilder world. It's mostly men. No, it's not mostly. Well, it is. It's dominating in men, and then we have women. And then the men are on enhancements in the majority. And then they do this bulking phase where they just literally become diabetic. And they have all the issues of diabetes, trust. And then they drop their carbs out. And then you see them in all these videos. You can go through a million of them. They're starving. And there's a girl, I got to find her video. I'm going to analyze it. Her name is also Stephanie. She did a We're Going All In thing. And the way I saw it is that she looked like very hypothyroid after completely cutting out her carbohydrates and eating very, very low and then doing this bulking cutting, bulk cut. High calorie carbs, low carbs, high carbs, low carbs. And all of a sudden, because in women, our hormones are so volatile that she started having that thyroid body and she couldn't lose weight. Okay, we got a horse. We got a horse. We've got phones going off because I forgot to turn the dang phone off. We got horses pushing up against the camper. And that's the way it's got to be for now. But let's get back into his video. We'll watch a little bit more. Then I'm going to explain something. Go to the next video, which is contrary to this one.
And what comes with that is over time, as you diet weeks over weeks over weeks, your metabolism can start to take a hit. Your mood can start to take a hit. Your energy levels. And it's because carbohydrates go to refuel the glycogen in our muscle. It's our body's preferred source of energy. And we're not giving that muscle the amount of energy that it wants to be able to perform in everyday life.
Okay, so he is saying that carbs are the preferred source of energy. All right, let's keep this real. We are not some type of special species of animals. We are hunter-gatherers. Our bodies are the same as hunter-gatherers that exist today. So there was no donut trees, no pasta trees, no cracker trees. There wasn't. There was ruminant animals. There's bugs, there's roots, there's berries, but the carbohydrates are not plentiful and bountiful, especially if you're thinking about East Africa. They were not. Nope. And if you're European, there's definitely not bountiful and plentiful amounts of fruit and carbohydrates. People don't know that the potato comes from South America. A lot of these sweet fruits were imported to Europe. So how are carbs the preferred source of energy when the majority of human existence, we didn't eat that many carbohydrates? I'm just saying.
In the gym.
Oh, what's going on here? Tough decisions. What are you going with?
I just get a little aroused when I start thinking about sushi. I think it's spicy tuna. I'm a plain Jane.
Let's get more into this.
Hydrate days, which what happens is we essentially, here's what we'll do. I'll put my low carb days over here and I'll put my high carb days over here. So you can see on my low days, I'm taking in about 230 grams of carbs. Now I'm early in my contest prep. I'm about 11 weeks out. So this isn't very low. And the disparity with the carbs over here isn't that much higher. We're going 230 grams on a low day to 300 grams on a high day. Well, on these low days, I'm not, like I said, getting as much carbs as my body ideally wants. And I highlighted all these kind of negatives that come with being in a caloric deficit. Well, when we go and introduce a high carb day, what we do is we keep protein about the same always. That's consistent throughout a whole contest prep, throughout a whole fat loss phase. We'll lower fats a little bit, but we'll increase the carbohydrates because, well, one, carbohydrates are freaking amazing. Donuts, ice cream, pizza. I don't need to say anymore. And not only that are we able to eat more of the foods that we like because we have more carbs to play with, but we actually go to increase our mood, spike the metabolism potentially, and replenish that glycogen in the muscle, replenish that, preferred source of energy when we are training in the gym. And
okay, so yeah. Now he is, to his credit, talking about contest prep in gyms. But you can find people in general talking about carbohydrates being the preferred source of energy in any reality. Most people on this planet or most modern first world economy people think in this way. It's very, very, the minority of people who actually are low carb all the time. He was expressing that eating donuts and it's showing pizza and all this is like amazing, but it's so, as we know, people who follow me know that these foods destroy your gut and they're loaded in toxins and pesticides. And then, of course, because the grain has been pulverized, a lot of people have wheat gluten intolerance. A lot of these people have freaking health issues. Now, I'm not saying he does. Obviously, I have to disclaim that because people who will rewatch this will think that I'm calling this guy out. I don't even know his name. I don't follow him. I just chose random person. And it's just a general concept that most bodybuilders think, or most people who are into fitness, who are trying to get lean and ripped. And that's why I get so many average people trying to do a bodybuilder diet. But the reality is, he is not talking about physiology at all. He's talking about caloric deficits, which people think that if you're eating less and exercising more, you're going to lose weight, unless your insulin is over 30, unless your A1C is at 6.8. I mean, unless your fasted blood sugar is like 130. I mean, unless you've got like autoimmunity, gut problems, hypoglycemia, dysglycemia, thyroid problems, low testosterone, and the list goes on and on. GI issues, sleep issues. So we cannot talk about diet like it's so easy. You know, we just, like carnivore people, just like eat 2 pounds of beef. We're going to go through the priming phase. This is what we're going to prime. They even named it something. We're going to eat as much protein as possible. Then after that, you're going to switch to a high fat priming phase. And then we're going to fast after that. And if you guys look at the comment section, I've been like screen shooting people's comments over the years of people saying like, my health is destroyed, I'm gutted. So for the one ding dong who's like, it's amazing they don't even say for me, they're like, it's amazing. You know, you need to just shut your mouth because like, I'm doing amazing. People who are very dogmatic and protective over everything in life, they don't like a debate in the context of a discussion. People just get stuck to their ideology and they're not willing to hear anything else. We have to go by what actually is going down. Like, we didn't have carbs out in nature. We didn't have no cookie trees. We didn't have no potato chip bushes. So right there, there's no argument. If you actually go to see what humans actually ate, especially pre-bread, they would stone grind the wheat and eat it as porridge. And the chromosomes of gluten were only about 14 chains long. They weren't very long. So people weren't having this gut-busting reaction when they stone grinded down the anti-nutrient, that protein in the wheat. But we have genetically altered and crushed and bleached and chemicalized everything that people in the diet and fitness world just leave all that stuff out. They just leave it out. Just like some carnivore people just leave out the quality of meat, like it don't matter. And then all these people have histamine issues. I mean, to the point where how long that the beef, the cow was hung, is it wet hung or dry hung, is going to be dependent on if they feel like garbage eating protein, if their uric acid levels are high, if they have high urea, nobody, or how their kidney function is, if they're dehydrated. And so this is the same for whatever diet that you do. You have to look at your existing health and try to understand. Now, this has graduated over to the keto world, where when I started doing this years ago, somehow this like cyclic ketogenic diets came along, that it is impossible. I want you guys to listen to me well. You cannot flip-flop. It takes a very long time for your body to break down ketones while you sleep. I'm not talking about ketones from the diet you ate. Y'all trying to access body fat, right? We have a restaurant right here. So while you're sleeping is the most objective time to understand, like when you wake up in the morning and you test ketones fasted, that's the most objective number, because you want to see if your body is breaking down, not only using them, not peeing out those ketones with your little purple urine strips, but using them. And this guy's like, it's the preferred source of fuel. It's so interesting because I haven't eaten carbs. It just shows you still how far behind certain fitness worlds are in understanding what form of fuel that your body can actually use. So carbohydrates are going to burn very fast. This is like octane fuel. Then you burn out. Look at my horse take off. He zeroed in. You're going to, in some aspects, like if you're eating carbs, it's great when you're a sprinter, because you're going to burst 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter. And then before your glucose storages, your glycogen storages are depleted, you stop because you're going full on. But a long distance runner who's ketotic is going to now tap into those fat sources and start burning it, because that's going to be converted into ketones via the liver. once they get into ketosis. But if you flip-flop, the body's like, I'm sorry, I'm always just going to be a carb burner. I'm going to be looking for the sugar, looking for the carbs. I'm going to crave the carbs. I'm going to want the carbs. I'm going to feel tired. My thyroid's going to tank, and the body's going to say, go eat some carbs. And that's why most people fall off the wagon on these diets, because their freaking hormones start tanking. And then the brain's like, carbs, that's what you know. We're addicted to it. And people want quick fixes in today's society. So instead of making correction and really getting their glucose stable or getting their insulin stable, they just flip-flop. You cannot carb cycle. You'll never enter ketosis. And every time you drop your carbs out, now your glycogen storages are depleted. And the body's like, excuse me? And where'd the carbs? And then people are like, no, I tested my ketones. I'm like, ketones up, ketones down. What was your blood sugar? And test it all the time. Just because you don't eat carbs for 6 hours, you can make ketones, but honey child, you don't use them. Because people forget to check the glucose numbers in conjunction with the ketone numbers. It takes a while to highly keto adapt, because the body's like waiting for you to fall off the wagon and eat something bad. Or I just had a couple bites of that donut at that party. And instantly you're out of ketosis. The second you reintroduce carbohydrates back to your diet, it's over. So when you drop your carbs out, and people really want to believe that you can do a cyclic carnivore, high fat or ketogenic diet and drop out your all your starches and carbs and then add them back, because that's going to help your fat burning, because you're going to have more energy. And watch, a lot of people who add the carbs back in, they have hypoglycemia. So they start feeling, they crash harder, because they just do better without all those processed, modern human, junky ass carbohydrates. It's a thing. Now, I think it's time that instead of hearing me preach, now I've been watching Dr. Westman for a hot second. Some things I agree. I actually had an interview with him, right, in the beginning of the Slovid time. And he was saying some stuff to another guy too. I wasn't arguing with him. Another dude was. And I was like, what is this dude saying? You know, he's got some good views, but when he was talking about Slovid, he was all for it. Like all for the draconian stuff. But I digress. So let's pull up the video of Dr. Westman. He's one guy who's been around for a while, so I respect him for that. And this time, instead of criticizing what the content, not him, I'm going to actually be aligned with it.
The one I have.
So, I've most certainly, as you have heard, where there are a group of people, typically you hear about it in the bodybuilding kind of circles, where people will go in and out of burning, using fat for fuel, and obviously limiting their carbohydrates, and then go into phases where they use a lot of carbohydrates. And so for people like them, obviously it may work for them. But as you've correctly highlighted, for folks with metabolic related illnesses, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, folks that are trying to lose weight, this might not be the best thing or best option for them.
That's right. And this is part of the...
Here's the thing. They're trying to be nice here. It's not good for anybody. Forget the whole diabetes thing. That's absurd. It's everyone. Look at people in society. They look atrocious. They're bloated in the face, broken blood vessels, cracked nails, white tongue. Yeah, it's very rare that we see people very, very healthy.
Internet confusion at the moment, that you search keto, or you'll be bombarded with different approaches and different types of keto diets, including those diets that are used for children with epilepsy, called the ketogenic diet, and cyclic ketogenic diet, which some bodybuilders and people who are perhaps elite athletes might use this as an advanced technique for while they're running, or while they're showing performance level sorts of things. So that confuses the issue of what do you do if you're trying to fix a metabolic problem like diabetes, obesity, hypertension. And so we don't really ask people to learn about.
Not only that, gut issues, sleep issues, eczema, inflammatory disease, rheumatoid arthritis, fibroids, endometriosis, low testosterone. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, you know, he's very much clinical, talking about people with obesity and diabetes and all this kind of stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everybody.
About ketogenic diets, we teach a keto diet where you eat real foods and you are consuming the fat on your body, fat burning until it's gone, not going in and out of the fat burning.
Now, I would imagine that
You can't even go in and out of fat burning anyway. It's impossible. The body can't, is like, it takes a while to get into ketosis, stable ketosis.
just so that folks that are watching this video can understand, is that if somebody is on a keto diet and they've restricted their carbohydrates, where their body is now producing beta hydroxybutyrate or ketones, the minute they actually eat glucose or sugar or carbs, their body immediately switches from burning fat for fuel, using fat for fuel, immediately to using glucose or glycogen. So, but the same cannot be said in reverse. In other words, when somebody now wants to then go from burning sugar as their main fuel source and go back to burning fat for fuel, it doesn't happen as quickly. Can you speak about that for a minute or two?
Well, that's right. So some people are we call it metabolically flexible. Like children, for example, can be burning sugar, burning glucose, or burning carbs and burning fat and go back and forth very easily. You might even, if some...
I'm going to disagree with him on that one. I work with a lot of families and kids, and they don't flip-flop back and forth. If you actually go and daily check their glucose and their ketones, they don't flip. So I that's the one thing I'm not like in alignment with.
A child is sick and goes to the emergency room, hasn't been eating for a day, they might even have ketones already because they can burn fat so well, children.
Remember this, everyone can make ketones. There's a lot of people I know who've been fasting, intermittent fasting, dry fasting, 24-hour fasting, and make ketones. They just don't use them. You can make ketones, that's not the issue, but y'all, you can't just make the ketones, you've got to use them.
But as we get older or have metabolic problems like diabetes, that ability to go back and forth from the fat burning, getting back into fat burning takes much longer. And a normal, quote, normal person who doesn't have diabetes might take 3 days to get back into full fat burning.
He's wrong about that too. I'm sorry. But like basically we share the same sentiment. You can't flip back and forth. But the reason why I say he's wrong is because, for example, when I left Texas, this is now a year ago. Can't believe it's a year. It's insane. And I came to Tennessee. The stress was so enormous because my transport people flaked on me. One person delivered my RV camper and didn't pick up the animals, and then I got overcharged for the woman who's ended up driving the animals and blah blah blah. And when you're moving to raw land, like every contractor just tries to rip you off. The fencers, this, that, blah 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 for the first 2 acres, and I popped out of ketosis. I was so hypoglycemic that I didn't talk about it in videos because my brain was like, you just got to get back in. I cranked up the fat. 3 days, 1 week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. It took me to get back into ketosis. I'm going to do a whole video on that. Now, before it's taken me a month, that was the longest it took before. When I have a minor stress, it's about a week. It's not 3 days. He's tripping. And I've been doing this a long time. It took weeks and weeks and weeks and obviously months. You have to think about how metabolically flexible you are, how your body is dealing with current stress. If you're not able to moderate and balance stress, that lengthens and quadruples the time to get back in, because the body is not going to use ketones if it has to compete with sugar that's being produced through what? Gluconeogenesis, the breakdown of amino acids, because your body is now back in sugar land and it wants glucose. And glucose is going to be the preferred energy when you don't have the ketones. In stress, your body's constantly in fight or flight mode. You're running from a lion and you're not going to get back into ketosis. You're not. And it's so difficult because so many people are in denial. They're in denial. These people who are fasting, they think they're in ketosis because they make ketones. I'm like, come work out with me. Come work out with me in the morning and we'll go hard, right? We'll go an hour, 2 hours. Let's test your blood sugar. And that's when people are like, oh, well, I feel fine. And I'm like, but you gassed out 20 minutes into the workout. Oh, I did. That's right. People don't even know if they've got energy anymore because they think, well, I don't need to take a nap. I feel fine, until they have to do something extraneous. They have to exert their body. And when they really exert it, they don't have the energy for it. So the idea of people thinking they have energy is also quite interesting. Remember, if you're not in ketosis and you're not drinking coffee, the body will go into the body factory and break down amino acids, which is protein, from bone marrow, from your skin, collagen, muscle, everywhere, to make sure that you're able to have energy to get through that strenuous day. I hope this helps. You must be a coffee drinker. Let me see. Oh, okay, no. Maybe not. It just looked like that when the image was in a smaller box. No, I don't know if he's a coffee drinker. If you want to learn more, guys, go to stephanieperson.com if you need help moderating all of this. We're talking histamine to blood sugar, trying to get into ketosis, or if you're an athlete, if you're trying to lose weight and you're struggling, if the thyroid's in the way, if you're estrogen dominant and your testosterone is tanked and your progesterone, and that's in the way, that's why you're not losing weight. If your sleep sucks and you're insulin resistant every night, you don't sleep well, and that's in the way, then book a consultation. Now, let me see here. Get ready for the challenge. It's coming. I got my flow chart. I'm getting all the content. I just got to film it, and then I will release the date. It'll be in September. It's coming at the same time as my house build. Oh, everything's coming at once. And then dealing with my mom. But life is good because I live on a beautiful land with beautiful horses. Stephanie Ketogenic on my Instagram. Stephanie the Business Person on my Facebook fan page. Energy! I've been doing this for 16 years, my people. 16 years and counting. And they say that women cannot do keto for the long term because they're going to develop thyroid issues and hormonal issues. And I'm like, well, when's it going to happen to Steph? Oh, my last video was all about sweating. It's like I didn't realize how much toxins I was still holding on to until I was sweating my freaking invisible bullocks off using a Barbie doll push mower. And I was sweating the humidity. And I was like, oh, my skin's glowing. What is going on? Y'all, it's such a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Look at that. That's a hill right up there. And I'm about to start getting ready to build that dang house. So bring on the stress. I'm ready for it. My fur babies are back there somewhere. So nice when I finally opened up the land and got 10 acres fenced rather than 2. And I'm going to put this back here. And then we're going to put it back here. comment below. Tell me if you're trying to do a cyclic ketogenic diet or a cyclic carnivore diet, and whoever told you that's a good idea, it's not a good idea. Don't do it. Just focus on trying to get into ketosis. If you're on a carnivore diet, make sure it's high fat. Make sure your electrolytes are in balance. Make sure that you work out because you need to develop GLUT4 receptors to uptake that glucose. And make sure your sleep is on point. And life is good. Energy. Stephanie Ketogenic on my Instagram. And I'm out because I got one more video to do. Peace.